Okay, shall we start? Thank you very much for coming. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Kyushu University Forum KYUDAI now, Singapore. My name is Kikuchi. I'm from Kyushu University Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies. I'm a professor from the institute. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reiko Oshima. I am Chief Secretary of Kyushu University Alumni in Singapore called Shokunkai, and I graduated from 21st Century Program in Kyushu University in 2013, and after that I came to Singapore to work. So, nice meeting you, and we are very pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you for coming today, this busy weekday afternoon. So today's program has two parts. From 1:30 to 5:50, we will have the forum program here on level 2. And symposium will serve as opportunities to showcase and discuss ongoing research and activities now in Kyushu University. From 6 to 8 p.m., we will move to level 18 for a simple buffet-style dinner, an opportunity to network and strengthen ties between Kyushu University and our friends in Singapore.
To begin with, we would like to invite Professor Shimizu Shunji, Vice President of Kyushu University in charge of International Affairs, to deliver welcome remarks. Professor Shimizu, please.
So hello everybody. So welcome to KYUDAI now in Singapore. I'm so happy to have you all here this afternoon. So I'd like to express my sincere special thanks to two honorable guests to deliver the opening remarks. One is Mr. Hotta Toru, Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of Japan in Singapore. And the other is Associate Professor Christian Bocharenk, former head of the Division of Industrial Design, National University of Singapore. Thank you very much. So I just wonder, how many of you came and joined this forum last year? Anyone? Or not so many? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So actually, this is the second time for us to organize this here in Singapore. And so there are many of you who came here for the first time. So I'd like to explain a little bit about what the KYUDAI now means and what we do under this name. So KYUDAI now literally means Kyushu University now. KYUDAI is a short name for Kyushu University in Japanese. So what we would like to do here is to make a presentation and show you about what we are doing in Kyushu University for research. So our presenters will talk about their recent researches from a variety of fields. And we have been doing this not only in Singapore, but have done in so many countries and regions. So we started this first in Indonesia for 4 years ago, and followed by Thailand and Vietnam, and not in the right order, but Bangladesh, or Malaysia, or the Philippines, or Mongol, and all the way to Turkey, and Egypt, and some more, I maybe forgot. But the thing is that the first target when we start organizing this is to enhance our relationship with our alumni people, in a variety of countries. So we start organizing this in the place where they have a Kyushu University Alumni Association. And here in Singapore, the Alumni Association was organized 2 years ago, so that's why we had a first one last year here in the same place. in a very good place in a downtown and with a very good view outside. And because it was so nice, we chose the very same place this year again. And yes, and basically we have a similar program in all the regions. We invite the professors from variety of fields, multidisciplinary field, from the human sciences and the medicine and the engineering, design, science, and many fields. But here in Singapore, we organizing team discussed what subjects should be more interesting for the attendance here. And we reached to the conclusion that economics or finance might be interesting for you, and also the innovation or kind of startup kind of things might be interesting to you, people here in Singapore. So that's why in the first session, the topic is more or less the finance or economy. And the second half, we have lots of presentations about the innovative research and the collaboration between the academics and the industry. And I cannot forget the third speaker in the first session is our Kyushu University alumni working in the Department of Design. So he will talk about the current research in design as well. Okay, so the one thing I'd like to inform you is that last year, the capacity of the attendance or this room is 100 people, but we had probably 60, 70 people altogether. But this time, we had a registration over 140, so more than double than the last year. So I'm so excited to have this room filled with lots of people. But at this moment, not so many people. So I imagine that the Singaporean people are slow comer or something like that, or some may just join the reception in the evening. But anyway, the program should be quite interesting. So please enjoy the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Shimizu. We are honored to welcome our distinguished guest today. But before that, I would like to inform you a brief announcement. Mr. Toru Hotta, Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy of Japan in Singapore, is unable to join us during the opening session due to an official engagement. We are however honored that he will join us later and deliver his remarks at the beginning of session 2 at 4 p.m. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you very much, Shimizu Sensei. And now it is our pleasure to introduce our guest from the Singapore side, Associate Professor Christian Boucheron, former head of the Division of Industrial Design at the National University of Singapore, who will deliver a short opening remark for KYUDAI Now Singapore. Professor Boucheron, please.
So thank you for this kind introduction. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the institution and colleagues who made this forum possible. My thanks go to Kyushu University and the Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies, the main organizer of this event. I would like to thank Professor Shimizu, Vice President of the Kyushu University for International Affairs, for his support of this initiative. I'm also particularly grateful to Professor Kikuchi from the organizing committee who play an active role in preparing this forum, and to Professor Ajishi Yu, also from the organizing committee. And finally, I would like to only thank Leo Theo, Assistant Professor at the Faculty of Design, who kindly invited me to take part to this event. So also I would like to extend a warm greeting to the many experts present here today. I was very, very impressed when I look at the poster to see the variety and of expertise, because I think cross-disciplinary is something extremely important. So from different fields like architecture, design, science and engineering will contribute to this dialogue, both as a speaker but also as a participant. It's important. Allow me to briefly introduce myself, as my own academic and professional journey is in many ways closely related to the theme of today's forum. I'm an architect. I was trained at the École Nationale Supérieure d'Architecture of Paris-Belleville in Paris. Then I continued my study at the University of Art and Design in Helsinki, in Finland, where I specialized in furniture design. Afterward, I pursued further study in industrial design at the Royal Danish Academy in Denmark, and later in Japan at Kobe Design University, where I completed both my master degree and PhD on the fundamental of design during a period of 7 years. So in one way I'm a bit Japanese. Also very important for me, among the various professional experiences that have shaped my trajectory, I would like to highlight two particular meaningful collaborations with mentors, the Finnish architect Juha Leviska and the Japanese industrial designer Toshioki Kita from Osaka. So the topic of this event is about collaboration and networking at the academic level, at different levels. And I'm going to share here my experience, but more in the context of Singapore and Japan, because I've been living almost 24 years here in Singapore and 7 years in Japan, and I try to establish a bridge between those two countries at different levels. So, So I will have tried to articulate the structure of my presentation from different perspectives, and especially three main axes. The first one is a collaboration between architect and designer with public and private institutions. The second one will be about the collaboration between academic institutions, especially between Singapore and Japan. We'll talk about the Institute of Technology later. The third point, the third part of this presentation will be about the collaboration between academic institution and industry through some example of Japanese companies who have been involved in different platforms with NUS. So let's begin with the collaboration between designer and public institution. When I arrived in Singapore in 2002, maybe I should change your glasses to see far and close. When I arrived in Japan in 2002 as an assistant professor at the National University of Singapore in NUS, I have the opportunity to meet Mr. Dr. Milton Tan, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, then Director of Design Singapore, and at this time I introduced my mentor Toshioki Kita, who was traveling to Singapore sometime to present some of his products, especially Sharp TV, who was quite famous. So I introduced Kita-san to Tan-san, and it's important to mention that together with the Ministry of Information, Communication and Art, MICA, Milton Tan organized a series of seminars and lectures over nearly a decade and invited internationally renowned architects and designers. This is extremely important. This initiative reflects an important national vision of Singapore. Singapore considers design as a key driver of economic and cultural development. And to give you an example of a famous figure who were invited by Design Singapore at this time, Chris Bangle, former chief designer of BMW Group, responsible of BMW, Mini and Rolls-Royce motor car, Toyo Ito, of course, famous Japanese renowned designer, which is very famous for this conceptual architecture. Of course, Toshioki Kita, but it's only three names among a very long list, one of the most influential figures in Japanese industrial design, who has collaborated for decades with international companies such as Kashina, Sharp. His work is included in major museum collections worldwide, including the Museum of Modern Art in New York, MoMA, Pompidou Center in Paris, etc. So, what was interesting in this collaboration between a famous architect, designer, graphic designer, even fashion designer, and the government is this cross-disciplinary, I say. The discussion was about how design can be important insert in society in terms of business, lifestyle, and also education. Education, which is directly my domain. So I was not attending all the discussion because it was quite confidential between the government and those, but I was there to listen sometime, and it was absolutely fantastic to see this brainstorming between people from the different backgrounds. So one of the most valuable aspects of this exchange was their cross-disciplinary nature, bringing together different fields of design and encouraging dialogue between diverse perspectives. It's something that we should encourage to our students, of course. Just to, among the different domains which has been approached and developed by those very famous figures of industrial design and architecture, education was one of the key one. And of course, because I'm an associate professor, I was listening, and one idea that repeatedly emerged from this discussion was the importance in design education of embracing experimentation and accepting failure as part of the creative process. You imagine when the people start to say that, we need to accept to fail, we need to accept to make the mistake. And it was interesting because there is a kind of consensus from Chris Bangle to Japanese to also some American designer. Everybody agree that in one way, making mistake, to be confronted with the problem, is a normal journey for a designer and especially for the student. And it was very interesting to say that it's a most important figure in industrial design and in architecture who raised that. Sorry. So, I mentioned here something, I said that understanding mistake is not seen as a weakness, but rather as a valuable resource of feedback and learning. In this sense, confronting problem and uncertainty can become a powerful driver of creativity. I think this is very, very exciting. For your information, I'm currently working on a book on design principle, and I've interviewed more than 50, 60 industrial design, graphic designer, architect over the world. And I was very, very, very surprised when very famous masters like Alberto Meda are talking about industrial designer, some accident during the design process, and how some hazard or some element that which was not planned arrive and enrich the project, and how some problem where they have been confronted is going at the end to bring some quality to the project. It shows that the design process is not something linear, but we have to go and back and accept and embrace those little accidents during the journey. I give an example of this cross-disciplinary is very important in terms of collaboration. It is also important to understand that we should sometimes for the government accept, of course, to debate with graphic designer, etc., architect. But in the same time, it's important to see that in the industry, the collaboration, architect, designer, and industry, there is some industry who accept to take some risk. And I took the example of Philippe Appellois. Philippe Appellois is one of the best graphic designers in the world. He has done all the scenography of Musée d'Orsay. He's working regularly with the Louvre. He has done so many exhibitions in Japan. He's one of the most important figures of graphic design. And he was commissioned by Hermès, the company Hermès. Everybody knows that, especially women know those beautiful bags. It was for Hermès for the watch. And it was the first time that Hermès commissioned, in terms of collaboration, one person who is not expert in this specific domain. And we have recently have many examples. I can go into comment two, where people are contacted one person who is extremely good designer but not specialized in this domain, and Philippe Appelois has designed the typography of the number of this watch, which is currently in the market and which is also quite a good success. Some example with Christophe Pillet, with the company Vuarnet, the glasses. He have never been working with glasses, but Vuarnet contacted him especially because he was not an expert. That's why he was bringing this fresh look. And we will see later in my demonstration that some company contact us, academic, like an institution, to work with the student because the student can come with a fresh look and a fresh answer that professional who are, I would like to say, repeating some beautiful recipe, but do not think outside the box, or do not break the code, don't do. So they are extremely excited to work with people who are not in the same discipline or who are not expert in the domain. So collaboration between the second form of collaboration concerns partnership between academic institutions. So in the context of Singapore, I mentioned that here I will give an example of the Kyoto Institute of Technology, KIT, and the Division of Industrial Design. We have every year some students who are going to Japan, and vice versa, some students are coming to Singapore. But beyond this simple exchange of students, we have developed a very interesting collaboration with KIT. Just before to say that when we start a collaboration with, this is a kind of advice I give when different universities contact me in China or in Taiwan to set their program. I explain that the reason we should drive the collaboration between two universities should not be only related to the ranking. Ranking is one thing, but I would like to say that the two universities should share common value. They should have some complementary expertise and mutual benefit for the student, for the faculty and the faculty. This is important. So to talk about this collaboration beyond the simple exchange of the student every year, my colleague Patrick Shah, who is an industrial designer, one of the best industrial designer, and was some international reputation, recognition, has conducted 2 workshops with KIT, and I really like the originality of this workshop because Japanese students, when they came to Singapore, were invited to produce a product inspired by Singaporean cultural element. For instance, Peranakan heritage. And conversely, Singapore students were asked to develop projects influenced by Japanese cultural code and tradition. The result was quite remarkable and were later presented in several exhibitions. Such collaboration play a crucial role in exposing students to different cultural perspectives and design approach. This is very important. So voluntarily we put the student in situation outside their comfort zone, and this it's not just a simple exchange like that. The third, finally, I would like to address a collaboration between academic institution and industry. So it's very important. It's essential that students encounter the reality of professional practice early in their education. So for more than 20 years, the Division of Industrial Design at NUS has developed numerous collaborative platforms with industry partners. Personally, I have conducted more than 15 such collaborations, particularly in retail design, with companies like Estée Lauder, Origine, Yves Saint Laurent, L'Oréal, to design some booths for international tax-free fair or shop, etc., etc. So, within the context of this event today, I would like to highlight the project developed with Shiseido, or Japanese, this fantastic Japanese cosmetic company. So students from NUS were invited to design retail stand for the Tax-Free World Association, TFW exhibition, and also to design, because we have several collaborations with them, so different booths in different department stores. So this collaboration proved essential beneficial for both parties. For Shiseido, the company received 10 diverse design proposals often very different for those provided by traditional consultants, because some students are quite excessive and sometimes come with some solution which are not conventional but is good in one way. And some projects are more classic. It was able to select the project best aligned with its brand identity and economic constraint, because in the selection of the project, it's not only a beautiful project, but the student need to understand, to capture the essence, the brand identity of those respective company, which is not easy for the young student, but it was an interesting experience. The company welcomed 2 or 3 students for 1 semester long internship to develop their project. And for the student, of course, they have the winner, but not only the winner, sometimes the team have selected some interesting personality and give them the possibility to do some internship. So they have the opportunity to respond to a real professional brief. This is very important. That's why this collaboration with the industry, academic and industry is so important. They receive the feedback of professionals. Some week we have people from marketing, sometimes people come from the more engineering, explaining that this system is not possible or too expensive, etc., etc. So they learn a lot. They gain a deeper understanding of the strategic and operational constraints faced by the company, because design is not only making beautiful objects, but we have also some other constraints. So such collaboration not only enrich student education, but allows company to identify and recruit emerging talent. The result is we have now, I think, between 30 and 40 of my former students who start originally with year 1 with me in design fundamental, who are working for those international companies, and they are now for some of them reaching some very good position even in Hong Kong and abroad, in Europe. In conclusion, I hope this brief of presentation has illustrated 3 forms of collaboration in design between designer and institution, between universities and between academia and industry within the broader context of Japan-Singapore cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Beauchamp, for your warm welcome and joining us today. Okay, next, we would like to have a short introduction to Kyushu University and Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies. We would like to invite Associate Professor Chiang Kun. Professor Chiang, please.
Hello, good afternoon. Nice to meet you. My name is Chiang Kun, and I'm Associate Professor at Kyushu University, Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies. As organizer of this event, it's organized by our institute, and I will take a very short time to briefly show the introduction, our university, and also our institute. And we are from Fukuoka here, so the capital is Tokyo, but we are from this island called Kyushu Island. And this is a night view. It's a very beautiful city. It's a full moon night view. And actually, in the Fukuoka, we have several cities. So Fukuoka is also the name of the prefecture or province, and it's also the name of the city. So this is a map of Fukuoka prefecture. And from the north to south, you can see different cities. And actually, in a lot of very famous Japanese companies, origin are in Fukuoka prefecture. For example, maybe you know Toto. Toto is like washlet maker, so it's from Kitakyushu city. And maybe you know Bridgestone. Bridgestone is tire maker, so it's from this Kurume city. Now, of course, their headquarters is in Tokyo, but the region is actually from our Fukuoka prefecture. And we have different cities and cultures here. You can find very traditional Japanese culture and very delicious Japanese food and very beautiful scenic spot here. And this is a bird view of Fukuoka city. So you can see there's a lake park here, and here we call it a waterfront, just very close to the sea, and very modern architecture, and also very traditional and very cultural sites. And in Japan, of course, there's a lot of major cities like Tokyo and Osaka, Kobe, but Fukuoka city's positioning is like the gateway city to Asia. because from the map you can see it's the most close city to the Asian continent. And because of this kind of couple of strengths, so Fukuoka City, a lot of cities, including Tokyo's populations decline in Japan, but Fukuoka City is very special because the population, especially young generation, increase every year. And for students, this is a lot of big merits for them to study in Fukuoka because it's the food cost and the daily cost is quite low comparing with Tokyo and Osaka. And our university just named from this island, so we call Kyushu University. And actually, this is one of the most the oldest university in Japan. So it's one of the 7 former empire universities established more than 110 years ago. And we have almost 20,000 students and more than 2,000 faculty staff. And we have the biggest campus in Japan. So it's really the biggest one in Japan. And here I want to show you a very short video. It's made from our international student. So I think it's better to see the video better than my speech. And I think for the customers last year, it's a new video for you, so you can see this again.
The brilliant minds, the future leaders and innovators belong. Renowned globally as one of Japan's leading research
So this is the faculty of science.
Distinguished as the biggest university campus, situated at the most livable city.
The Sakura season, Sakura blossom. And this is the main hall, we call it the Shiki Hall.
Kyushu University. Belong in a transformative learning space.
This is a library. We also have the biggest library in Japan.
Flexible learning styles, guaranteed to access your desired academic resources and study space.
This is faculty of agriculture.
Belong in a team of competent researchers and supervisors with technologically advanced laboratories and research facilities, where the innovative ideas are born. Belong in a scientific community that covers diverse
We link all of the faculties with a corridor, and this is experiment site for agriculture.
For the benefit of all sectors of society.
It's just on campus.
Here at Kyushu University.
And we have sports facilities, including swimming pool, and this kind of gym.
A recreational arena where the skills in sports and fitness are kept trained. Belong in circles, organizations and clubs where the passion
full-size
for
athlete field
and music are practiced. Belong in a futuristic environment with hydrogen-powered cars and buses, and a future towards a carbon-neutral society is envisioned. Belong in a place surrounded by good food and cafeterias with tons of choices varying in terms of diet, food culture, and taste. Not to mention scenic views to enjoy every meal. Belong in a convenient, comfortable, and safe living.
This is a dormitory for students, for international students.
Offering different styles of living, where complete housing amenities are provided, ensuring a hassle-free stay. Belong in a living space where free rides anywhere around the campus can be enjoyed.
It's a shuttle bus because it's too wide, so it's a free shuttle bus
Institution with
between
convenient
facilities.
access to healthcare, safe space for women and minorities,
It's on-campus
culturally
clinic.
sensitive and diverse social environment.
The 3 rooms for different cultures and religions.
And most importantly, belong in a community where relationships are cherished. In the midst of diversity, foster companionship with fellow students from all over the world. Explore together the wonders just around the university, from its beaches to the mountains nearby. Belong in a community where great memories are nurtured, where the city meets nature, where academic learning meets social recreation.
First, we have more than 2,000 international students, so from different countries and cultures.
At Kyushu,
So they have very active activities.
where you belong.
Okay. And sorry, finally, let me take maybe only 2 minutes to briefly introduce our collaboration between Japan and Singapore, because now our university have more than 200 counterpart institutes or universities all over Japan. And in Singapore, we have a university level collaboration with these 3 universities: the National University of Singapore, Nanyang Technological University, and the Management University. And for our institute is here in the campus. So we have like 3 main events. One event is we call it Brown Bag Seminar. We do this every week on Wednesday, and it's totally free. So from anywhere you can join this because it's online seminar. And actually, we just had this today on this note. But I'm sorry because it's 2 o'clock now. So but next week we will have another one. So our professors from different background will give a talk for 40 minutes, and you can easily join this for lunch. And Asia Week, we do this every year, so we have a couple of events in this 1 week. And another one is KYUDAI Now. So actually, as introduced by Shimi Sensei just now, last year in February, we had our first KYUDAI Now in Singapore, and in the same place. And after this, we traveled in different countries, like Johor Bahru is quite close to Singapore here, and in Ankara, and last month we had this in Bangkok, and today we come here again in Singapore. So thank you very much for coming today, and please enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chen Sensei. Thank you very much for your informative introduction. So now we're going to move to the photo session, but before that we have a small gift to our distinguished guest. So,
Okay, now I'd like to begin session 1, Finance, Economy and Design. The 3 professors from Kyushu University will share their research and activities related to these themes. Our first speaker is Associate Professor Kim Shufma. He is a deputy head of the Industry of Cluster at Kyushu University's Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies, specializing in sustainable finance, ESG. Originally from Luxembourg, he's previously worked in sustainable finance at the University of Oxford and Tokyo Institute of Technology. And his research focuses on ESG matrix, sustainability reporting, and risks such as greenwashing and carbon washing. The title of his presentation is Greenwashing, the risk of low integrity sustainability expertise to firm level reputation. Please welcome Associate Professor Shukman.
Okay, that was a lot, but I just wanna. I think I did. Okay, here we go. No clicking for me. But with this long title, all that I want to say is first, thank you for being here. And I'm an associate professor, and previously I focused a lot on sustainable finance. So how can we use the financial system to make our economy, but also our society, more sustainable? However, and that is where we come to the, how to say, a bit more tricky part of today's event. I talk about when, be it companies or be it individuals, present themselves as very green and they are not very green. That happens a lot all over the world. And I investigate because I am someone, I'm the only true net zero person in here. So no one got that joke, but I'm fine with that. But it's, I think it's very important for us because nowadays a lot of people are investing in stocks. A lot of public money goes into companies to support them. And a lot of companies make green claims. They talk about being sustainable, but also individuals do that. And I do not really care if you do not try to benefit of the green halo effect, if you do not try to profit of selling something that is not really there. So for example, if you say your plastic bottles can be fully recycled, and then it turns out it's not the case because customers, they use that information to make the decisions and spend their money. And if we go now much larger, that is the same for investment funds, for large infrastructure developments. And that is something that I was very curious about for a large part of my research career. And now I'm delving a bit deeper, and I also published a paper as of recent that created a lot of waves, and because it touches on people's skills. And we talked a bit about being collaboration, but also presenting your expertise in a way that is genuine. And that can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So I will talk a bit about greenwashing, the crucial role of data, cases of ESG-related greenwashing risks, and then the case of competence greenwashing. What is that? So, I'm not a big fan of AI, one of the very few, but I love AI when it talks well about me. So, there's this concept of competence greenwashing, and I actually coined that term in 2020. And it says here, is the practice of overstating or fabricating sustainability or ESG-related expertise by individuals or organizations to win contracts, jobs, credibility without having proper evidence-based credentials. This is an emerging trend, and you can say that happens in every field, but it has been particularly pronounced in the sustainability green space. Because at some point, of course with the current American government it's a bit different, but previously it was really on the rise. Everything was green, everything was SDGs, and people and companies try to profit off that, and that has real economic and financial implications. And to investigate that as a researcher, I find it fascinating. So this is the theory. We need people, we had all these different stakeholders that help us achieve the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, make global society more sustainable. No hunger, a functioning environment, biodiversity, all these things. We need money for that, and Singapore as a financial hub is at the core also of that. I'm originally from Luxembourg, which is also a financial hub. And we need that, but all these stakeholders, they work only on the premise that we trust to give them our money as society, be that taxpayer money, and we trust in the expertise. If you go to the doctor, you trust that the practice of them getting their degree is confirmation that they have the necessary skills. If you fly on a plane, you would like to know that your pilot went through pilot school. And there are certain jobs in society that require such a high level of trust and skill that we established safeguards to make sure that the people who work in these jobs have the proper skills. However, for the financial sector, that is often not the case. You have a lot of people who have green-sounding job titles that do not necessarily have those skills, and you can say sometimes you need someone who's a trailblazer, who does not necessarily have the skills. I say that is fine, but if we entrust them with billions of dollars of public money, then I want to know they have the necessary skills. And here you can see the trajectory a bit before the current American administration. It just went up. Lots of money was invested in sustainable investing, in sustainable projects, with the definition of sustainable being very, very vague. So everything can be labeled sustainable. And it's just to say there was a lot of momentum behind it. However, then suddenly the thing unfolded a little bit. People were asking questions. Green funds, all that money, is it really that green? Are a lot of the promises actually real? Green investing, it was kind of like a reminder of the housing crisis of the early 2010s. A lot of things were sold that were too good to be true. And often when it's too good to be true, it might be too good to be true. So governments and regulators became aware of that, and they said we need to tackle greenwashing, we need to promote transparency, because all this green, how green is it actually? And that can be for investing, that can be for products, that can be also, in my case, in my research, for people, for skills. So I wrote also on that, in the context of Japan, that Japan, at some point, the SDG pin was omnipresent. If you on a train in Japan, in Tokyo, everyone had the SDG pin. Everyone wanted to be more sustainable, out-sustainable the other person, the other company. But there's a fundamental importance in greenwashing because there's a mismatch between claims, expectation, and capacities and evidence. You make claims around sustainability or ESG. You create stakeholder expectations, be that investors, be that clients, be that customers. But then you do not necessarily have the capacities, be that technical resources, financial resources, whatever you want to call it, or you do not have the data to back it up. And that is what fundamentally greenwashing is. It is this mismatch between what you promote, what you claim, what you represent on the outside, but then what you lack in resources and also in data, in evidence to back it up. So I will not bore you too much with the greenwashing definitions because we also in the interest of time, but it's basically just this false impression. The graph that I showed prior basically encapsulates it very good. But it's these unsubstantiated claims that you have. And you have it just for products, for services, and it's just, you benefit of it because you basically sell a dream. You sell someone, I have a service, I have a product that does the hard work for you. You care about the environment. You want to be more sustainable. We figured it out. We basically figured out how for you to enjoy your life as you did before without having to worry about the hard part. We did that for you. We made a product that you can enjoy at the same price as before, but now it's sustainable. And we as humans, we want to believe that. We want to believe that it's possible to get something, to pay money and then get the same product, but now suddenly it's sustainable. And unfortunately, that is often not the case. So I will not go too much into it, but here's the official ISO 14100 guidance on environmental criteria for projects, assets, and activities. And I want to point out point number 4, sustainability-related expertise or capacities. Because we always forget kind of in the midst that companies are made up of humans, governments are made up of humans, and they have skills. And sometimes if they do not have those skills, they need to make you believe that they have these skills. But the outcome will always be less than ideal. If I, for example, have a doctor who says, I watched a few YouTube videos on how to do brain surgery, you would be terrified. You wouldn't be, I might want to wait for the right one. And the same is with sustainability. There's tons of people who say, yeah, I watched a few introductory videos on the SDGs. I kind of get the gist of it. But now we put them in charge of billion-dollar portfolios of large infrastructure projects. I think that is very worrisome. And then you get the outcomes, because if you do not have the skills, you need to pretend you have them. And then it often becomes a marketing exercise on make things that are not good look good. And spending on all this part to prove there was an increase in spend on ESG data, on getting that data, on getting that evidence. But how do we get that evidence? It's often from the actors themselves, from company reports. But it is used actively. These ratings are being used. Corporate sustainability reports are being used to make investment decisions to allocate money. However, most of it is self-assessed. It's the companies rating themselves and telling us how they feel about themselves. Of course, they're not going to say, I did bad. And publicly available statistics also often based on questionnaires, industry-level questionnaires. NGOs and news. That is usually where we get this data from to prove whether a company is actually sustainable or any type of stakeholder is actually sustainable or not. However, there's an issue with that because here first you see on the left, what are the sources? Company websites, annual reports. Where do we get the data? How can we prove if a company that says it's green is actually green? We go there, NGO websites, stock exchange filings, and that is where we get the data from. And then we have this part, and I will get back to that part later because it's very important, because it says research analysts trained. This training part matters a lot, but this is the sources. But what some researchers did, in this case MIT, they looked at this data and they saw large divergences. Here, for example, Samsung or Google, and these are rating agencies that collect the data and then give their opinion of how well did the company do. And these ratings, similar to credit ratings, are used to make huge investment decisions. And depending on what rating company you use, you get huge differences. For example, in terms of Samsung, if you use KLD, which is owned by a very large financial data company now these days, you would think they're not really doing that well. But if you use Robeco, which also is owned by a large investment or financial firm, you think, yeah, they're doing pretty well. And it's the opposite for Google. If you use Robeco, you think, they're not doing that well in terms of overall sustainability performance, but in terms of KLD, they do. And others also investigate. This is from a report from Credit Suisse. They looked at certain companies like Facebook or Pfizer, global companies that everyone knows. And the ratings are all over the place, depending on what rating company you use. These are very known, established companies that are very known in the financial industry. So who do you trust actually? How can you objectively say who's good and who's bad? And some researchers, in this case from ETH, they looked at it with large language models, and they also found companies disclose very selectively. They highlight certain things a lot, but sometimes the important part, they do not highlight it at all, or they omit it even, when it comes to climate, in this case, climate risks. And I did research that also looked at the relationship of endogenous and exogenous data. What do I mean by that? Endogenous is the data that comes from the company itself, company reports, and exogenous data is that comes from independent sources like news, investigations, lawsuits, things like that. And we found consistently among Japan, United States, and European companies that the companies report their scores much higher than if you look at data that does not have no origin with the company. So companies present themselves in a much more positive way, and as we've seen, that's the largest source of where the data comes from. In the interest of time, because I need to speed up a little bit to get to the juicy part. So this is an issue where the data comes from, because it's mostly self-assessed, it is inconsistent, and there's a lot of gaps. And that has become a reason for regulators to become active. And they want to prioritize the fight against greenwashing, because with all this data being so inconsistent and companies presenting themselves very positively, it's very hard for investors to know the actual performance. And here you see, for example, one of them, it got a lot of critiques, was inclusion of tobacco, pharma, or mining companies in the top ESG 5. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but it's just saying that it drew up a lot of criticisms because those were not necessarily the companies you would immediately go to in some cases. For example, with the opioid crisis in the United States. Or Tesla, for example, it's one of the most common examples where it was very hard to say with electric vehicles, with the batteries, the recycling, are they now very green? Or if the electricity comes from fossil sources, the carbon footprint would be very bad. How do you judge that? And that's what Elon also was very angry about. He said, like, yeah, all these ESG ratings are phony because Tesla didn't get a good score. So that is more personal, but it just goes to show that it's not unique. And nowadays it becomes even harder to judge because in the United States, for example, certain government entities, they do not allow the use of word climate change or green, which, if you want to analyze things, makes it very hard to look at environmental performance if certain words are not admitted. And all these pledges, I don't want to go to, but this was the case that really made me aware of skills. So this was a German asset manager, and they marketed a lot of sustainable investment funds. And then a whistleblower reported to the European and to the American regulators that they didn't have the skills to manage that, either in terms of human resources, but also in terms of technical resources. And a lot of these funds were nothing more than just like to try to sell something green to clients, because at that time there was a lot of momentum behind it. And then I wondered, how is it actually? And then I saw a paper also by NYU Stern that said US corporate boards suffer from inadequate expertise. So the boards do not have the skills, the asset managers do not have the skills. Who has the skills actually for all these products and all that money? Because it matters. The experience and competence of research team is important, but often it does not seem to be sufficiently available. And we come back to this data chart. What is actually the skills of these research analysts? Do they have skills? Do they have biodiversity skills? Do they have climate change skills? Are they technical experts in what they're evaluating? If I'm not a doctor, so if someone gives me an X-ray, I can only make an informed guess if something is wrong with a person. I do not know because I'm not a trained expert. The same is with a bunch of data. If someone gives me data and I need to put it in the ESG database and decide what is material and what is not, and if I'm not skilled, it will end up also inaccurate in the final database, but that database is then used by lots and lots of investors around the world to make their decisions. And you have complex data like carbon emissions data. You have upstream and downstream in the supply chains, very complex stuff. And if you're not trained in that, and you're now suddenly confronted with deciding what is the important part in all of that data, that massive data, then I think if there's no expertise, then the final data set will also be very, very inaccurate. And I will skip here a little bit, but here's, for example, what the EU regulators say needs to do to be green: climate change mitigation, adaptation, or biodiversity. And you need expertise for that. And that is very important. So there was really a trend to recruit specialists. And there was a skills gap. So people really wanted to get all that war for talent for the ESG skills. But then it came to the supposed experts. There were some gaps in it, overestimation of their quality of advice, or just admitting to its employee cheated on ethics exams. And that's where I came to competence greenwashing. And I will finish in around 3 minutes, so in terms of time. I wrote this paper, and that was exactly what I read in the beginning, this misrepresentation of technical expertise in the environmental sustainability space. And it created a lot of ramifications. A lot of regulators actually referenced it directly in terms of appropriate knowledge skills. The UK regulators, competence greenwashing. The Monetary Authority of Singapore referenced it. The European Securities and Market Authority, the European Banking Authority, the European Insurance Authority, and a lot of media covered it, competence greenwashing. Demand for ESG expertise reveals competence greenwashing. Competence greenwashing are questionable ESG credentials, putting climate goals at risk. And it's examples, just putting ESG or sustainability in front of an existing job title, just to make it look green. Suddenly your company has tons of experts, just because the job title changed. Or just hiring someone, chief sustainability officer, who are just tasked with more like marketing. Or organizations that limited, they just want to, how do I say it, labelings or like inadequate like certificates that just make you seem like you have the skills. But 100 hours of watching videos does not necessarily make you an expert. And that is what I looked at. And I said, you need to stop doing that. Real skill is important. And that is where I get funded by the Japanese government to investigate that, the impact of ESG skills representation. And I want to finish this with one final food for thought. So this is a recent post on LinkedIn. And it is one of the sources that I find most intriguing. So here is a post by a recruiter. And I want to read it out loud, and I rather want to leave you with that. And say, is this good? Is this bad? Because there's no concrete solution. It says, the sustainability professional with 15 years of experience looked perfect on paper. Every qualification, every buzzword, every box ticked. Hired through the job advert. 2 months into the organization, wanted to part ways. Technically brilliant, but couldn't collaborate. Treated every meeting like a lecture, made the operations team feel stupid for not knowing what carbon accounting was. Meanwhile, the candidate I placed the month before at the same place, former hospitality manager with no environmental background, was thriving. She asked questions, she listened, she brought people along rather than talking down to them. Sustainability work is about changing how organizations operate. You can't do that by being right at people. I've watched technically perfect candidates fail because they couldn't read a room, because they alienated the finance team they needed to influence, because they treated sustainability as a solo mission rather than a collaborative effort. And I watched unconventional candidates, like a former hospitality manager, succeed because they knew how to build relationships, how to translate complex concepts for non-technical audiences. The attitude matters more than hiring managers would want to admit that. Can this person handle setbacks? I do not want to go. But it's rather makes the argument that a person doesn't need to have the technical skills. And I think that is fundamentally wrong. Because sustainability is treated like an add-on and not a complex thing that we need to care just as much as about then a balance sheet. And this is my research now, just to wrap it up. I look at the relationship between the skills and what actually a sustainability-related person in an organization has to do. Is it natural capital? Is it climate change? How much skills do they need? What kind of skills are needed? And then I evaluate them on a materiality matrix. How relevant is it?
It's no problem.
Okay.
No problem. You can use it. You can use it. You can use it.
The other one.
This one?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
This is no problem.
Hello? Hello? Thank you very much. To wrap it up, I used to analyze, so for example, and that created a lot of controversy. I said, for example, a PhD with a science background is more relevant to managing climate change or biodiversity than, for example, a bachelor's degree in a non-STEM, non-science. And people were always, but what about my degree? I have a degree in history, does that mean I can never do climate change? Yeah, you can, but it needs to be relevant to what risks I actually manage. And then I rate that, and that is what I currently do. I try to find out, is it actually correlated? And this is the final thing from a real report, no names, no company, but a company just labeled half of their board as sustainability expertise without providing any context of what kind of skills, how does that relate to the company's organization. And And that is where I feel this research is needed more than ever, because we need to know, is there a risk between having people with artificial skills in positions where they make real decisions, and how does it actually influence the performance of the company? And that is something that I want to investigate and that I will investigate further. But I hope this introduction raised a little bit of awareness and food for thought among you. So please do look out for my research, and I hope this was a nice presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Schumacher. So we have, we can get just one quick question if you have. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes.
Fantastic presentation, Professor Schumacher. Sorry. I just want to ask you, given you what you know now from your research, where are we now in 2026? We've seen lots of people who used to have sustainability in their job titles drop sustainability from their top job titles. So where does that leave us? Is competence greenwashing less of a problem now than it was when you're doing your research?
I think it's now due to the geopolitical context, especially in the United States, as we saw the current American administration erased or forbade the use of climate change and green in a lot of their official documents. So, okay. And I do think now a lot of people dropped it because the momentum is not there, and it showed it's more important than ever because it showed that people just gave up the title as soon as it was not contemporary anymore or contemporary enough, and it did not help their careers. So it showed that a lot of the skills that were previously there were actually not there because people just left once immediately. And that also meant that a lot of the sustainability performance previously was not real because it just existed on paper, which makes the research even more important to know what skills do actually matter so that we do not repeat the same mistakes once it picks up again. And then actual skills are rewarded because whenever someone is hired who does not have the skills, like someone, I don't want to criticize a former hospitality manager, but I'm saying, they always say we do not find the right people. There's so many qualified people out there who can be integrated into the finance sector or into the business sector. But I think often the business sector is gatekeeping because they do not really want to change. And I found out that scientists, we usually try to put on the brakes a little bit and say, should you do that? Is this really sustainable? And often in a lot of boards, in a lot of companies, that is not necessarily something that is desired in terms of hearing it. So I do think this research really matters because I want to hear from different stakeholders. How do sustainability scientists feel about it, like environmental scientists? What skills matter? How do financial practitioners think about what sustainability skills matter? And how does the general public feel about that? And to see, do those things actually differ between stakeholder groups? But I think real skills should matter because otherwise we also get fake sustainability performance, which I think helps no one because if a lot of money is involved, then we should also get a proper return on investment for it.
Very much. Okay, thank you very much. So now we thank you very much. Because of time constraint, we will move to the next presentation. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have Associate Professor Kiho Muruga from the Faculty of Economics. But unfortunately, she's unable to join us in person today because of the unexpected circumstances. So, however, she has kindly provided a pre-recorded presentation, and she will join us online for the Q&A immediately afterward. So, I will give some brief introduction of Professor Muruga. So, Associate Professor Kiho Muruga is an economist at Kyushu University since 2023. She earned her PhD in economics from the University of Tokyo and her experience includes roles with the Asian Development Bank and the OECD, as well as research fellowship at Waseda University and Tokyo Center for Economic Research. Her research broadly covers labor and gender-related economic issues in Japan, including women's work and gender role attitude. So we will now play her recorded talk. The title is Breaking Barriers, Advancing Women's Status and Gender Equality.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to make a presentation at KYUDAI now, Singapore. My name is Kihomuroga from Kyushu University. Actually, I have a small confession to start with. I was truly looking forward to meeting all of you in person today. However, I am joining you remotely from Japan due to a very personal and frankly quite embarrassing barrier, my passport validity. I discovered too late that it didn't meet the entry requirements for Singapore, and I had to abandon my travel plan at the last minute. While my personal barrier was a simple administrative oversight, it serves as a fitting prologue to my talk. Today, I want to discuss much more profound and systematic obstacles that half of our population faces: breaking barriers, advancing women's status, and gender equality. To give you a little background, I am a labor economist. My research focuses on the labor market, specifically how gender norms and household behaviors influence women's professional outcomes. Some of my work were featured in the Nikkei, Asahi Shimbun, or NHK. Recently, my research on how seemingly small factors like wearing a face mask can impact the electoral support of female politicians has gained significant media attention. Now let's look at what I call the gender puzzle in Japan. On paper, Japan's progress looks impressive. We have achieved high female educational attainment, and female labor force participation has been rising steadily. But here is the paradox. Despite these statistical gains, the underlying structure hasn't changed as much as we'd hope. The wage gap remains, the glass ceiling continues to block career advancement, and women remain strikingly underrepresented in the rooms where decisions are made, especially in politics. To understand this puzzle, we need to look closer at the nature of this participation. If we look at the data from the labor force survey, the participation rate for women has indeed climbed significantly over the decades, reaching record highs. However, as an economist, I have to ask, is this quantity over quality? Are we simply seeing more women working, or are we seeing women working in positions that truly empower them? The answer becomes clear when we look at the type of employment. In 2023, there was a massive disparity. While only 22.6% of men were in non-regular employment, a staggering 53.2% of women held these types of roles. These positions, part-time or temporarily, often come with lower pay, fewer benefits, and limited career prospects. This structural difference is not just a footnote. It is a primary driver of the persistent wage gap in Japan. When we shift our focus to leadership and compare Japan to other nations using ILO data, the glaciering becomes painfully visible. In countries like Sweden or the United States, the share of women in management positions is over 40%. In Japan, it is just 14.6%. This is a huge gap. It tells us that even when women enter the workforce, they are often hitting on invisible barrier long before they reach the top. This lack of representation is not only for the corporate world, but also for the political world as well, where Japan lags far behind its global peers. Currently, women hold only about 10% of seats in the House of Representatives. When 90% of our country's lawmakers are men, the policies and perspectives of half the population are inevitably overlooked. This is a critical barrier to achieving true gender equality. To understand the subtle mechanism behind these gaps, my co-author Charles Crabtree and I conducted a unique survey experiment in Japan. We asked, do voters evaluate politicians differently based on subtle visual cues like wearing a face mask? We showed 1,500 participants randomized photos of candidates. The results were telling. While mask wearing reduced support for all candidates, the penalty was significantly larger for female candidates. This suggests that women in high-stakes environments, like politics, are judged by much stricter or more sensitive standards than their male counterparts. But why do these barriers persist so strongly in Japan? To find the answer, we have to look inside the home. According to the OECD time use database, there is a massive imbalance in how Japanese couples spend their time. Japanese men perform the least amount of domestic work among all compared nations. This leaves women to shoulder the bulk of housework and childcare, what we call the second shift. This domestic burden effectively limits a woman's boundaries and her ability to compete on an equal footing in the workplace. Finally, our research using the gender role scale reveals that this issue goes deeper than just a lack of childcare facilities. It's about attitudes. We found a profound attitude gap between genders, characterized by what we term male conservatism. Even when the system changes, if the underlying mindset, the expectation that men should work and women should stay home remains, inequality persists. In Japan, the gap in attitude between men and women is one of the most significant barriers we must reach. Now, let's connect the dots to understand what is actually happening in Japan. We can categorize the challenges into two types of barriers that reinforce each other. First, we have the invisible barriers, which are rooted in traditional social norms. As my research using the gender role scale reveals, there is a profound attitude gap between the genders. This is characterized by what we call male conservatism, a deep-seated expectation that men should be the primary breadwinners while women manage the domestic work. These invisible norms act as a powerful barrier, holding back even the most ambitious women. On top of these norms, we face very visible barriers. Japan's traditional work culture is defined by long working hours and a lack of flexibility, which makes it nearly impossible for anyone with caregiving responsibilities to stay on a high-level career track. According to the OECD time use data, Japanese men perform the least amount of domestic work among developed nations. This leaves women to shoulder the second shift at home, effectively preventing them from working on an equal footing with men. These two barriers create a negative loop. Because of the long hour culture and the expectation that women do the homework, many women are faced to choose non-regular employment just to maintain a work-life balance. This brings us to the core of the problem: participation without empowerment. While the quantity of women in the workforce has increased, the quality of that participation remains low. We see more women working, but they are concentrated in low-paying, non-regular roles. As a result, they remain absent from management and leadership positions, where the share of women is still only 14.6%. In short, they are in the building, but they are not yet in the boardroom. So the critical question is, how do we break these barriers? There is no single silver bullet, but our research suggests a multi-layered approach is essential. First, structural reform. We must dismantle the visible barriers. This means reforming work hour structure to ensure that productivity, not face time, is rewarded. Furthermore, we need to increase child care availability and crucially consider subsidizing domestic help and housekeeper services. This allows families to outsource domestic labor, reducing the overwhelming second shift currently borne by women. Second, encouraging behavioral change. We need to aggressively promote potentially leave uptake. When men take leave, it rebalances the domestic load from the start and begins to shift the male conservatism we see in the data. It's about making shared care the new standard for the Japanese household. Third, ensuring representation. We must move beyond just inviting women to lead. We need serious discussions about political quotas. With women holding only about 10% of seats in the House of Representatives, a seat at the table won't happen by accident. Quotas can act as a necessary fast-forward button for gender parity in leadership. Finally, a long-term shift in social norms. Most importantly, we need to address the invisible barrier through education. By educating the next generation to move beyond traditional gender roles, we can finally bridge the attitude gap that our gender roles scale study identified. In closing, I'd like to reflect once more on my situation today. I may have been stopped by a personal passport barrier this time, which prevented me from being in Singapore with you. It was a frustrating, but ultimately temporary inconvenience. However, we as a society cannot afford to let Japan's progress be stopped by the much more formidable gender barriers we discussed today. As the data shows, gender equality is not merely a women's issue. It is a fundamental economic necessity and an essential engine for Japan's sustainable growth. We have seen that simply increasing the quantity of women in the workforce is not enough. We must break the negative loop of participation without empowerment by dismantling both the visible structure constraints and the invisible social norms. By removing these obstacles, by reforming our work culture, rebalancing the domestic load and challenging male conservatism, we do more than just help women. We ensure a more resilient, innovative, and productive future for everyone. Let us work together to ensure that no one's potential is ever grounded by an invisible barrier. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We miss you here so much, but we're glad that now we can connect online. So due to time constraint, we only have like one question or two to accommodate. Anyone has a questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. Your current Prime Minister is a powerful lady. Does your analysis apply to her, or what you can learn from her kind of career?
Thank you so much for your comment. Yeah, actually, personally, I think now we have female prime minister, so of course it's really a kind of great news for everybody. But at the same time, because to be honest, she has really, I can say, conservative view. So I personally just don't support her so much. But now, she just breaks the barrier. So I really hope that many women can become our prime minister as well in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's have a round of applause to Ms. Nora. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we would like to have a final presentation of the session 1. The last speaker is Assistant Professor Leon Long Wei Leon from the Faculty of Design, Kyushu University. He received his PhD in design from Kyushu University, and his research explores how design thinking can help students develop practical problem-solving skills, especially school students, or in school settings. Before joining Kyushu University, he worked in Singapore education sector, and his academic background includes a Bachelor of Engineering from Nanyang Technological University. The title of his talk is Pluralizing the Design Thinking Process to Teach Japanese High School Students Complex Problem Solving. Please welcome Assistant Professor Leon.
Testing 1, 2. Oh. Hello. Testing 1, 2.
Hi.
good afternoon. My name is Leon. Thanks for coming to join this event. Sometimes when I return back to Singapore, I do get questions like, am I a foreigner? Like yesterday I took a taxi, the driver was asking me, are you Singaporean? But I can assure that I'm 100% made in Singapore. Yeah, I worked with the MOE as a teacher teaching design for quite a number of years before I went to Japan to do my master's and PhD. And actually I returned back to Singapore to work with the MOE again. And before I returned back to Japan as an academic. So my area is very much related to education. And what I want to talk about today is how do we kind of decolonize the design thinking process so that we can make it much more accessible for school teachers to teach students complex problem solving, which is something that Singapore is emphasizing on, I think, at this moment. And I think they have a new subject for integrated studies, especially to teach students how to solve real-world problems. Before I go on, I want to thank some of these people that are on my list, special acknowledgements. If you can see that my team is very much internationalized. Like for example, the first person, Lee So-min, is from South Korea. She's currently an entrepreneur, went back to Busan. Now she has her own design studio. And then we have Zhong Chen over here. She graduated from the Graduate School of Design in Kyushu University and now back in China. And then I still have my colleagues with me, Melanie Sarato, who is still in the Faculty of Design. And Moe has moved to Ito campus, which is in Kyushu University also, joining the international division, I think, with colleagues over there. And Yan Fang is still with me. And then we have Noriko, who went to Osaka. So you see that we have a very diverse team working with Japanese school teachers in this project. And one of the things we focus on is that in the Japanese high school context, we do have a subject, which is a very long name, called the Period for Inquiry-Based Cross-Disciplinary Study. It's kind of test your reading skill. It's a very long name, but it's technically an inquiry subject used to teach high school students complex problem solving, dedicated subject. And a lot of times, teachers in the school do use design thinking to teach high school students how to solve real-world problems. So, using design in a general education context. And because these teachers who are doing this kind of projects, in general, they are not trained in design. So you can imagine if the geography teacher is going to use design thinking to teach students how to solve real-world problems using design thinking, they're probably going to be in trouble. And you can imagine history teacher also. So we do have help in general, not just in Japan, but in different countries. We found that, or even in Singapore, like academics from universities, design practitioners, do come in to help the teachers, they parachute down, help the teachers to run some of these programs, or even provide information and references. But a lot of times, the dependence is very much to the outside supporters. So when the outside supporters, like the academics or the design practitioners, kind of leave the school, or kind of they decided that they can't support anymore, quite a number of times the program kind of have to close down because teachers do not have the expertise to continue the program, and probably that may happen in Singapore too. But the good thing is that what we found is that there are also many different kind of design thinking models around. If you just do the search, like IDEO, a lot of times you hear about the double diamond, but sometimes if you look at if you look at the double diamond is by the British Design Council, and then you have the ideal steps, like you have to first cultivate the empathy before you go on to go into ideation, and then we also have this Stanford D School. You have different kind of design thinking models, but sometimes when teachers look at it, they ask, oh, okay, so what does it mean? Because some of these different models, although they are similar, but sometimes they are defining design thinking quite differently. That may also be because of the different kind of context that they are using. So they do have different models around, but they are defined in different ways. So when school teachers who are not design trained, which is outside the field of design, look at it, they will be questioning, okay, so how do I understand design thinking from all these models? So they got confused. So one of the things that when they get confused, it is challenging for them to unpack what is design thinking, and once they are not able to unpack, you can imagine that a lot of times they are just following the steps, and then they use it to teach the students without fully understanding what the process or the mechanics is all about. So when you talk about a little tweak then of the design process, then the teachers may also be in trouble. So what we want to do as the research team back in Japan is to hinge on this idea about democratizing the design process, to pluralize the design process into different ways so that the teachers can understand them. So in fact, if we look at some of these theories, educational theories, there are actually theories that say that for a concept, for a difficult concept, it can actually be explained in many different ways. So if that is the case, then the design process can also be defined in different ways for the teachers to understand. So what we want to do down here, the key question to ask is that if we are to kind of pluralize the design process, then what are some of the key considerations we need to consider if we are to re-articulate the design process, which is simple for teachers to understand? So what we do in this research is to use a school that we have been collaborating since 2019, but in 2021 the school decided, at first we started as a workshop, but in 2021 the school decided to run a kind of a full-scale flagship program which is related to design thinking for all the students, which involved about 300 over students per year. And these are from the high school, second grade, third grade, or third grade students. So we have, every time when we run a project, it's for about 12 weeks. And we have 11 classes running at the same time with 2 teachers facilitating. So we use that as a kind of case study. And so what we kind of understand from the last few years is that even though we provided some notes or information to the teachers, they still are not able to fully understand, especially in the design process, you talk about what is actually an iterative process, And then they also have difficulties to facilitate some of those design activities that we suggested that they use in the school. So what we did was that we kind of dissect everything again and everything put back onto the drawing board to start to think about ways to articulate the design process into even much simpler ways. So you can see these are some of the kind of concept worksheets that we created, and then we kind of showed the teachers. Even though we try to re-articulate the design process in different ways or simple ways, this is the feedback that we get. The feedback that we get is that we are still using too much design vocabulary into the kind of processes that we suggest. And some of those design methodologies or approaches that we use are still very much design. So what we did was that, can there be a different way to tell the story? So based on the multiple intelligences theory created by Howard Gardner in Harvard, so we started to express the design process as a story form. So by telling a story and using graphics. And this is the project timeline. We actually started the project somewhere before March 24, and then kind of ran for a year plus. Last year, we kind of concluded the first cycle. Last year, March, so we concluded the first cycle, and then we started to collect feedbacks again. So during the whole process itself, what we did was that in the first part of the cycle, before the school ran the project, the research team actually created resources for the school to refer. So these are the resources that are here. If you are interested, you can come to me. So they are first done in English, and then after that we translate into Japanese, and then we let the teachers have a look, and then to refine the resources. Once we finish the resource prototypes, we pass everything to the school, and the school does not just copy everything. What they do is that they unpack whatever resources that we give them, and then they create their own resources for their project. So you see down here is that they are not using ours, but they are creating themselves the resources. So using the resources, they conducted, implemented the project, and then after that we kind of get some feedback from them, what is the effect. So the early benefits of doing that is we want to hope that the teachers can then now, by doing it on their own, they can understand the design process. At the same time, hopefully we can get the teachers to have confidence in themselves to run this kind of design-based projects. In the long run, what we hope is that by pluralizing the kind of design process for the school teachers, we can further allow the different schools to use design thinking on their own as a general complex problem-solving technique to teach their students. And what we kind of learn and hope in this kind of collaborative framework is that for the design practitioners and academics, we can transfer the know-how to the school. And then, because the teachers already possess the kind of pedagogical literacy, what they need is the kind of design literacy from the practitioners and the academics. And then from there, hopefully they will internalize the kind of knowledge, they self-regulate what is necessary, and then self-create the kind of resources that they need. And perhaps what they can do to further acquire support is for the academics and the practitioners to then help them to validate the kind of resources that the schools created. So by doing this, the academics and the practitioners are not taking over the kind of, are not insisting the kind of resources that the schools should use, but they are just transferring their kind of know-how, but allowing the school to actually self-generate the kind of knowledge by themselves. So at the same time, we hope to also maintain the kind of power balance. Sometimes schools, we do see that the specialists are trying to enforce or try to get the the generalists to kind of use certain methods. But in fact, the generalists can create the kind of knowledge by themselves. So this is what we believe. And for the resources, we created a different version for schools around the world, or teachers, educators around the world that they can maybe refer to. If you are interested, you can go to this website to download. It is just a prototype, but hopefully in the future, we can kind of further create resources that many teachers may be able to use it as a reference, but then using it as a reference to create their own resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Leon. Thank you very much. So, very effective information on the design thinking approaches in high school students. Thank you very much. And so, do you have any questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you, Leon, for this great presentation. I'm directly concerned because I'm teaching, and I'm really concerned because my PhD is about design fundamental. During my journey for my second book, where I interview people on design principle, I think that there is one of the key elements that we should systematically fix inside each step of the design process is the human factor. Based on what I've been reading, almost the totality of the lecture of Alvarado, and what he called that the little man. And there is some, if I look at the totality of his work, which is one of the top, I think he's one of the top 5 architects of the 20th century, there is one concept who is guiding his work systematically. It's a well-being from the simple handle he has designed in 1928 or 30s until the urban planning, by systematically relating everything to human being, to the human well-being. So I think that this dimension is absolutely crucial. I think that's my humble opinion. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Christian, for that comment. Absolutely. So what we need to do in the next step, besides doing all these resources, is then to identify how do we kind of impart this kind of design literacy to the teachers to understand that for students, when they think about solutions, it has to come from the human being perspective. And of course, now there's also the concept of the environment, so non-human also. So these are concepts that in the next step we will have to think about how to then impart to the teachers. Yeah. Thanks, Christian, for pointing out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Okay.
Okay, it's already 4 p.m., so I would like to resume our session. Before we go moving on to the next session, we would like to have another guest. And we are honored to welcome distinguished guest who has kindly joined us after official engagement. Please welcome Mr. Toru Hotta, Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy of Japan in Singapore, for his remarks. Mr. Hotta, please.
Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. And actually, I should have been here at the earlier stage, at the very beginning of this program, but unfortunately, my previous engagement, due to my previous engagement, I was not able to do so. But Professor Shimizu kindly allowed me to make a short statement at this moment. So thank you very much. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the successful convening of the second KYUDAI now session here in Singapore. And I vividly remember that I also joined the first session that took place last year, maybe at the same time, at this particular room. So I'm kind of personally very delighted that I think the first session, the achievement made during the first session has led to the convening of the second session. So I would like to send my warmest congratulations to you. So in terms of the diplomatic perspective, you can see a small official logo design on top, left next to general logo design. That is the official logo design of the 60th anniversary of Japan-Singapore diplomatic relationship. And so we are holding hundreds of commemorative events throughout this year, and this one is one of them. So we have been endorsing the dozens of hundreds of the other events of the same nature or other natures as the official event that celebrated this particular year. And the Singaporean and Japanese government have come up with a kind of a common slogan to represent the spirit of this year, which is co-imagine, co-create, and co-evolve. So there are three codes. So there is the representation of the cooperation partnership between two countries. But I think the core of this slogan is that it is really a kind of forward-looking concept, not just commemorating the past 60 years, but we are also looking for the next 60 years, with the conviction that Japan and Singapore have kind of potential to create a better future, not only for the two countries, but also for the rest of the world. And naturally, under that spirit, academic cooperation and partnership is, as I said, natural and indispensable component of our initiatives. So from that regard as well, I'm very much happy to get this nice gathering here. And I hope that all of you can find future counterparts or future academic or business opportunities throughout this program. And eventually, I hope this session will contribute to the overall development of the relationship and the spirit I have just mentioned. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hota, for your warm regards. Okay, we will begin session 2. Engineering, AI, and Innovation. Our first speaker in this session is Professor Shigenori Fujikawa. He is a professor at Kyushu University's International Institute for Carbon Neutral Energy Research and the director of Kyushu University's Negative Emissions Technology Research Center. He received his PhD in engineering from Kyushu University and also serves on the board of Nanomembranes Co. Ltd. His work focuses on nanomembranes technologies, including direct air capture of CO2. The title of his talk is Direct CO2 Capture from the Air by Nanomembranes. Please join me to welcome Professor Fujikawa.
Okay, good afternoon. So my name is Shigenori Fujikawa from the Kyushu University. Actually, the second session is only for technical session, not for social science. So please change your mind. All right. Today, I'd like to share my recent research achievement about the direct CO2 capture from the air by nanomembranes. So actually, we emit a lot of CO2 into the air already, right? But of course, you know how much amount of CO2 in the air. But it is very hard to imagine the amount situation. That's why I have found a very impressive movie web. So as you can see here, you may see the blue sphere, which diameter is 10 meters. It contains 1 ton CO2. Actually, so this is the situation. Actually, this is really old data, but this is the real situation. This is the CO2 emission only from the Manhattan area in New York City, right? As you can see here, just it emits huge amount. This is 1 year, or from the only New York Manhattan. This height is almost, height is equivalent to the Mount Fuji, right? That's why we have already emitted CO2 into the air. That's why we have to capture from the air. Otherwise, it is hard to achieve carbon neutral situation, right? That's why, of course, carbon emission should be reduced, but also at the same time, CO2 capture directly from air technology also very important. So, but of course, there are many technical challenges. Of course, one is amount. There's so many huge amount of CO2 in the air, actually petaton scale, right? It is quite huge. But at the same time, the concentration is pretty low, only 0.04%. Actually, it's hard to imagine how dilute it is, right? That's why I'd like to use something like to give a clear imagination. I'd like to use Singapore population. Actually, yesterday during the flight, I prepared this slide. Actually, Singapore population is about 60 million people. That's why one blue icon corresponding to the 10,000 people. Then this is the situation. Actually, this is almost correct. Almost correct. And then here, 0.04% is only 2,400 people. But this is not random people. This is a kind of individual people. That's why, please imagine, if you find a specific person in somewhere in Singapore, 2040, it's very hard, right? That's why dilute amount, but specifically we have to capture series. That is a very technical challenge issue. Then I'd like to focus on the membrane separation because there is many technological advantages as shown here. One is simple and very inexpensive process. I mean, this is just filtration, and air filtration. That's why I know it's very cheap and inexpensive. And also, membrane does not use a chemical, toxic, environmental chemical. That's why this technology basically environmental friendly. And also, this is very also important thing. Size is adjustable. It means that for membrane separation, we develop some modules. It's kind of block membrane module. Then if we want to increase the amount of the area of the membrane, just numbering up the membrane module. That's why you can easily adjust the membrane size. And this is also important thing. So some other CO2 capture technology use a chemical. That's why sometimes it is the installation site is limited. But however, membrane is just air filter. That's why you can install anywhere. Of course, air exists anywhere. That's why this kind of ubiquitous CO2 capture is also very important concept for direct capture. But before I work, nobody has done, because this is a very famous paper published from Professor David Keith, who is a Harvard University professor. According to his saying, this is kind of King saying, so CO2 separation by membrane, they need a pressure difference before and after membrane. But as I showed you, pressure difference of the CO2 is very small. Partial pressure, that's why if we use the commercially available membrane, so CO2 permeance is pretty low. That's why almost practically not meaningful. That's why people believe membrane-based direct air capture has been considered impractical. That's why nobody has done. But I thought, if we have a highly CO2 permeable membrane, of course, membrane-based direct air capture is possible. That's why we started such kind of project. Very simple, making thin as possible. That's all, right? Then, of course, we had many trials, but I want to omit such kind of our effort. But what I succeeded is, we succeed to prepare very, very thin membrane. Thickness is only 34 nanometers. That is only the 1/300th thin of the food wrap, right? It's very thin. That's why this membrane shows a pretty high CO2 permeance compared to the conventional CO2 separation membrane. That's why we think we can do the CO2 capture by membrane, right? And this is I think this is only the one scientific data, right? So for the membrane performance indicator, we have to think about two parameters. One is CO2 permeance, and another is selectivity over nitrogen, because air contains nitrogen. So that's why horizontal axis corresponding to CO2 permeance, it means the higher CO2 permeance has higher number is meaning that high CO2 permeance. then this is a higher selectivity, also is good. So, of course, we carefully and also systematically investigate what is the requirement for achieving the direct capture by membrane. So this is target area. So we have to exceed 10,000 GPU and also more than 30 selectivity. That is our target. But unfortunately, we carefully survey the literature which has already published in the past. So this is not our data, this is published data from the other group. As you can see here, so no result achieve such kind of target area. At the beginning, of course, we have a good status, as shown here. As you can, this is a red square corresponding to our result. But this is not enough. Then we still keep the effort to have a good performance. Then we could finally achieve our requirement. This is our, this is a very new data actually. So I think, this is, to my best knowledge, this is only the example which satisfies the CO2 permeance and selectivity for direct capture. Right, then we have tried to demonstrate our membrane-based electricity can surely capture CO2 electricity from air. As you can see here, this is a module of the CO2 separation membrane. Then we can suck the CO2 from the air, like from here. Then there is one more module here, not appeared here. But this is the CO2 concentration in a room, and this is after first stage separation, second stage separation. As you can see here, so first separation, after first separation, the concentration increased to the 3,000 ppm, almost 5 or 6 times higher than the air. And after second stage separation, it exceeded 1%, which is the limitation of the distance. Actually, it reached more than 2%. It means that this is 50 times concentration acid. I think this is the first example, world first example to that membrane-based direct capture. Right. So, as I want to repeat it. So membrane has a good memory advantage as shown here, and also we have found another important issue on demand. It means that once we turn on the switch, the concentrated CO2 is obtained, right? That is a very important issue. So for technical and industrial reasons. So from these achievements, we think CO2 capture should be done in any way. Of course, CO2 capture itself is important, but please think about it. Once you capture CO2, what will you do, right? So that's why we have to also consider after CO2 separation, right? This is the general scheme of the carbon capture and utilization storage, so-called CCUS. Of course, first one is the CO2 capture. This is a kind of initial point. And then we have two ways to go. One is the utilization and another one is the sequestration, right? Of course, Japan, the resource is very limited. That's why CO2 can be considered as a good carbon source, right? That's why Japanese government also try to utilize CO2 as a carbon source. Firstly, we focus on the direct use of the CO2 after CO2 capture. One of the examples is CO2 is used for the agricultural purpose. Of course, you know that plants need the CO2, light, and water for their growth, right? Of course, there have been already kind of CO2 applied, agriculture. But in that case, agricultural farmer burn kerosene to obtain CO2 and then apply to the vegetable. As you can imagine, this is not maybe necessary, but maybe not good for the environment issue. That's why we try to use our capture CO2 for agriculture. Actually, for such kind of CO2 application, it doesn't require so much high CO2 content. 10,000 ppm is enough. Then we use our membrane module for plant growth. Actually, this is vegetable. I don't know how to say in English. Komatsuna in Japanese. I don't know how to say. But anyway, this side we supplied our captured CO2. So this side we supplied air, right, with the same flow rate. As you can see here, so left part, yeah, obviously goes faster, right? But concentration is not so high, only around 110,000 ppm, right? But dry weight, when you think about the dry weight, 30% increase. It means actually our membrane, CO2 captured by membrane, strongly enhance the plant growth. Of course, this is one of the examples we're using. Another issue is more technically on scientific challenge. We try to use the CO2 as a carbon source for fuel, for example. In that case, we have to develop the CO2 reduction reaction. So we have a collaboration with Professor Miho Yamauchi, who is in the professor in the Kyushu University, and also Professor Paul Kenneth, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So they developed the very special electrochemical CO2 reduction system. So we supply the CO2 to their electrochemical device, and then they produce the methane or ethylene or ethanol, something like that. Of course, one looks very simple, but most biggest challenge from the chemical viewpoint, chemistry viewpoint is even our CO2 is concentrated, but it contains oxygen. But oxygen is kind of very strong energy for the strong CO2 reduction. But they utilize CO2 mixture gas for the source stream. Then this is the kind of demonstrative setup. So, sorry. Okay, then you can see the membrane module. Actually, our researcher developed the very funny shape, leaf shape of the membrane module. And then we suck the CO2 directly from air, and then introduce into the electrolyte solution, and directly, right? Then this is the electrochemical cell, and then at this cell, CO2 is converted to CO and ethylene in this case. This is the kind of result. So of course we use water for electrochemistry. That's why sometimes we obtain the hydrogen, but also, as you can see, ethylene is produced, right? So it means no purification. We just capture the CO2 from air, and then dilute the CO2 is also provided to the this electrochemical way. So based on this achievement, we have a strong support from the Japanese government, so-called Cabinet Office of Japan. So they developed a new research program, national research, so-called Initial Research and Development Program. So we have many collaborative work with many universities, including the United States or other. Then we try to develop the direct air capture and utilization system. This is a kind of schematic illustration of what we are aiming. So we firstly introduce a membrane to capture CO2 from air. Then after CO2 capture separation, we just directly provide to some CO2 conversion system to have a useful chemical product. Okay, but our aim is not making a big plant. We try to make a small device, like an air conditioning system. Because Japanese land is very limited. I think Singapore land is also limited. That's why we cannot build very large scale plant. Now, also urban area, to be honest, CO2 concentration is high. Actually, this room has a high CO2 concentration actually. That's why some of them are very sleepy, I guess. But anyway, so in that case, we capture CO2, for example, here, and then convert to methane, for example, to use it. That is our, kind of final aim. And this is not a dream, I would like to say. This is already progressing. So we developed this kind of small device. This is a CO2 capture system, and this is a CO2 conversion system. So from these combination, we try to capture CO2 from the air and also methane, produce methane. Actually, this is the inside of our developing machine. So it works. It worked half a year in Osaka Expo, right? Whole period, half a year. So we introduced, this is actually our developed, system. So looks like nothing level, looks like not working level. But whole period, that this machine continuously work to capture CO2 and to produce methane. And also it is very hard for normal, usual people, it is very hard to imagine what kind of future life come. That's why we also demonstrate if we introduce our direct air capture system, what life will come as a daily life. Of course, this is not a scientific effort, but also we are trying to promote social development. For this purpose, we launched the new venture company, Carbon Extract. So, of course, this is the first example, first company which received the direct investment from the Kyushu University. And then, of course, this company has already introduced some of the products into the somewhere. Especially, this is the Bentencho station, which is a close station to the Osaka Expo venue. And as you can see here, this is a membrane module here. And we just suck the CO2 from through this membrane, and then this concentrated CO2 is applied to this vegetable shelf. Then we have a very fast vegetable growth. Of course, actually, this vegetable, I don't know how to say, this is a hard vegetable, I don't know how to say. But anyway, you could eat this vegetable in an Osaka station during the Osaka Expo period. Okay. Without CO2 supply, it takes 5 weeks for growth. But when we use our membrane system, it is only 2 weeks for eating, right? And also, we have a collaborative work with a building constructing company. Of course, as I said to you, so inside of the building has a lot of CO2. That's why this is very good place to capture CO2 because concentration is high. It means the energy efficiency is good, right? That's why we have a collaborative work with the Shimizu Corporation, which is one of the largest construction company. And then we are now installing this kind of direct air capture system in the buildings. Right, time is good. So I prepared 30 slides, but I can finish within time. So finally, I'd like to acknowledge our research team. Actually, our research team is not so many, but each person hardly work to develop such kind of membrane system. And also, I'd like to thank our financial support for the initial research and development from the Kyushu University. Okay, this is the final message. Of course, CO2 is not energy. CO2 is a very useful material, and also CO2 is everywhere. That's why ubiquitous carbon capture should be necessary in the future. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Fujikawa, for your very innovative research. So now, yes, question. Yes?
Greenwashing? Yeah, I have tried to answer your question maybe. I prepared just now.
In my PhD, I did energy research on the electricity grid in Japan, yes. And I'm assuming this direct air capture will require a lot of electricity.
Yes.
So,
okay.
And given that the Japanese electricity system is not decarbonized,
yeah.
What would be the net zero footprint?
Thank you. I just quickly prepared after your presentation.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. To be honest, any direct air capture technology, not us, all other all of the other technologies. If you use green electricity, CO2 emission is positive, largely positive. That's why for the negative emission, we have to use the green energy. Right? In our case, we assess the life cycle, and then we estimate the CO2 emission all of our life cycle, and then this is our kind of three equation. So our device capture 1 kilo CO2 per day. I will give you the slide only. And then 5 years product lifetime, and then we have to use a solar. In that case, we can capture 5.5 tons for 15 years. Of course, in that case, as you pointed out, we have emit CO2 during this kind of production, operation, or maintenance or disposal. So this is the graph shows this is kind of CO2 emission, so-called global warming potential. But as you can see here, we still have nearly 1 ton CO2 is negative. That is except for using the green energy, of course, positive, very positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, one question.
Thank you. Don't ask me the Greenwashing. Thank you so much.
Hi, Prof. Thank you so much for the lecture, for the talk. I found the distributed device system to be very interesting, where you distribute the DAC devices across urban areas. But if the device is distributed in denser regions, then the pressures will drop and the wind speed will also drop. So won't that increase the pressure on the fans to?
Yeah, we use a vacuum pump to make pressure difference.
And if it's distributed in denser humid environment like Singapore, for example, then won't the nanomembranes become filled with water moisture?
No problem. Our company also very humid. And also it works during the whole period of the Osaka Expo. Actually, this is outside.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Fujikawa. So giving me a round of applause. Okay, so we move to the next speaker, Associate Professor Shoko Miyauchi. Associate Professor Shoko Miyauchi from the Department of Advanced Information Technology at Kyushu University. So she received her PhD in engineering from Kyushu University and conduct research in health and medical informatics, such as medical image analysis and AI-based support system for clinical and daily life applications. So today's her presentation title is Advancing Medical and Parenting Support System through AI Technologies. Okay, so please welcome Associate Professor Miyauchi.
Thank you for the introduction. I am Shoko Miyauchi, Associate Professor in the Faculty of Information Science and Electrical Engineering, Kyushu University. Today I'd like to talk about advancing medical and parenting support systems through AI technologies. This is my short CV. I received my PhD in engineering from Kyushu University, and I've been at Kyushu University since my undergraduate years. My research fields are radiogenomics and parenting support system development. Since all of the studies I represent are based on AI. So I'll start with a brief overview of AI. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is a technology that runs from data and uses that knowledge to perform prediction and classification. The classification is to group things by type. Examples of AI-based technologies include speech recognition, autonomous vehicles, diagnostic assistance, and ChatGPT. A core technology of AI is machine learning. Learning from large datasets enables AI to identify patterns and use them for prediction and classification. And neural networks are one of the methods used in machine learning. Neural networks are network-like collections of artificial neurons inspired by biological neurons. Artificial neuron models the activity of a biological neuron using a simple formula like this. Stacking artificial neurons like building blocks enables various predictions and classifications such as facial recognition and pose estimation. Now, I'll introduce a research topic that focuses on network design, how artificial neurons and other components are stacked to achieve the research objectives. The first topic is radiogenomics. Generally, the doctors iteratively perform diagnosis and treatment for patients. A technology assisting the diagnosis using image processing techniques is called computer-aided diagnosis, CAD. Various CAD systems are used in the medical field. Radiogenomics is a relatively new field that aims to further develop these CAD systems and assist both the diagnosis and treatment. In CAD, one type of medical image, such as X-ray or CT, is used as an input. On the contrary, radiomics handles various types of medical images at the same time to achieve more accurate and detailed diagnosis and treatment. Radiogenomics aims to realize personalized medicine by combining this radiomics with genetic information. By analyzing and modeling the correlation among the radiomics and genetic information, radiogenomics performs high-precision diagnosis, survival prediction, and so on. In conventional radiogenomics, cancer is the target of diagnosis and treatment, and the images to be analyzed are only 2D or 3D images. On the other hand, when dealing with heart disease, it's important to understand the movement of the heart captured by a 4D MRI. The number of patients with heart disease is the second highest after cancer patients, so the radiogenomics for the heart disease is required. But there are few radiogenomics for the heart disease, therefore we propose for the LS radiogenomics to realize the radiogenomics for the heart disease. Also, heart disease is known to be highly associated with lifestyle. So, for the LS radiogenomics analyzes lifestyles in addition to the body heart shape and genetic information. In order to achieve such a 4D LS radiogenomics, it's necessary to solve two main challenges. The first challenge is how to qualitatively describe individual differences in 4D heart shape. One solution for the first challenge is individual difference modeling. As an individual difference modeling method, there is a statistical shape model called SSM. SSM is models individual differences in organ shapes through statistical analysis. The SSM is represented by an average shape and base calculated by using target organs and shape parameters. Shown in this movie, the SSM can represent various target shapes by changing the shape parameter values. So individual differences can be quantitatively described using shape parameter values. And I have proposed a new mapping method to automatically generate SSMs from 3D organ shapes. One of the mapping methods is constructed using neural networks. The proposed networks generates a mesh model. This mesh model with same connectivity as a template mesh from noisy incomplete point clouds. This figure shows an overview of the method. It consists of two neural networks, implicit function network and shape deformation network. By deforming a template mesh with a shape deformation network using shape features computed by the implicit function network, we obtain a mesh that corresponded to the input point cloud. Here are the mesh generation results. As you can see, our method can reconstruct the entire shape even when only part of the point cloud is available. Moreover, it can generate mesh models that satisfy key point correspondence suitable for statistical analysis to build the SSMs. Next, the second challenge is how to analyze and model heterogeneous data such as images, shapes, and lifestyle information. One approach to addressing the challenge is to use AI technologies. Now, I'd like to introduce an AI-based 4DS radiogenomics diagnostic support system that we have developed. This system determines the presence or absence of heart disease from different types, that is modality, of biological data. For each modality, sequential 2D MR images, sequential 3D heart shapes, and scalar data such as genetic information and smoking frequency, we use different neural networks to extract features. By progressively combining these features, the system produces a final classification result indicating the presence or absence of the disease. From our experiments, we confirmed that the classification accuracy improved by progressively integrating features from different types of biological data. Okay, now let's move on to the second topic, parenting support systems using AI technologies. In this research, the focus is not on network design, but on how we can make effective use of existing neural networks. Holding a baby is a fundamental behavior that supports the development of a healthy parent-child relationship. It requires maintaining similar postures for extended periods, which can impose significant physical strain. To minimize both physical and psychological problems, it's important for caregivers and infants to maintain appropriate instructed posture. However, opportunities to receive instruction on how to hold a baby are limited. As a result, many caregivers struggle to fully understand the techniques, making it difficult to reproduce the instructed posture. To address these issues, we are developing a baby holding posture guidance system using AI-based pose estimation. In this study, we measure and analyze baby holding postures, aiming to build a model that evaluates posture quality. Ultimately, by integrating this model into a smartphone application, we hope to provide caregivers with easy, anytime guidance for more comfortable holding posture for both the caregiver and the child. First, we measured expert and learner postures using wearable motion capture. This figure shows the environment for measuring the baby holding posture with multiple sensors. The caregiver is wearing an inertial sensor-based motion capture called X-Sense. X-Sense measures the caregiver posture using 17 IMUs. An IMU is a small sensor that measures body movement and tilt. This sensor is not affected by occlusion caused by the baby doll. Also, the attachment and the attachment of the sensor is easier than that of general optical motion capture such as Bicom. This video shows an example of the captured motion data. Second, based on the captured data, we developed a quantitative metric tailored to caregiver posture during baby holding, and validated its usefulness. In this metric, we evaluate each joint by comparing the learner's histogram with an expert histogram created in advance. The similarity between the two histograms is used to evaluate each joint individually, and the summed histogram similarity is used to evaluate the whole posture. Finally, using the developed metric, we developed a smartphone application for baby holding posture guidance. The application has two modes, a reference capture mode and the posture guidance mode. In the reference capture mode, users record a comfortable holding posture guided by an expert such as midwife. In this mode, the application captures the still image of the posture and saves the AI estimated skeleton data on the smartphone. In the posture guidance mode, they use the reference at home to practice and reproduce the posture on their own with the guidance. This video shows how the guidance works. As you can see, the reference posture is represented as a graph consisting of points and lines connecting the points, which is overlaid on the image of the learner's current posture. When the learner's posture sufficiently matches the reference posture, the joint points changed from white to green colors. In addition, a score indicating the similarity between the learner's posture and the reference posture. this score is calculated from the evaluation metric developed in the previous step. Our experiments show that using this system reduces anxiety and increases confidence in holding a baby. Finally, here is a brief summary. In this presentation, I introduced AI-driven radiogenomics and the baby holding posture guidance system. And I'm also engaged in various collaborative research across different fields, so if you're interested, I'd be happy to talk with you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miyauchi, for the very interesting AI-driven research. And do you have any questions here? Okay.
So hi, okay, thank you so much for the talk, but I have a simple question for the first one, especially since it's very in the field of like life critical regarding the whole heart disease, and sometimes AI, like neural network, it seems a little bit black box, and yeah, and in practice you want to have like some reliability to the users and patients. So what consideration or efforts have you done to the model to make it like increasing reliability and trust?
Thank you for your question. It's a very important point for medical support systems. So there are various researches to increase explanation ability of the network. And so, for example, by using the heat map, the network can show the important point for the classification. By using such a method, we needed to modify our network to improve more explanation ability. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other? No. Okay, thank you very much. Next, Associate Professor Yoshihito Yagyu from Dean of Engineering Science, Kyushu University, will be presenting his research. His specialty is a plasma application science. He received his PhD engineering from Saga University and developed automatic pressure plasma and related devices for real-world challenges in areas such as agricultural sterilization and environmental applications. The title of his talk is Attack on the Giant Snail, a novel electrical control method for the invasive golden apple snail. Please welcome Associate Professor Yagyu.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm Yagyu from Faculty of Engineering Science. And actually, I just became a family of Kyushu University a year ago, last year. I just came, I'm newcomer. And I really honored to join the KYUDAI now today. Thank you for giving me these opportunities to speak about my research. The title is Attack on the Giant Snail. This is inspired by Japanese animation Attack on Titan. And by the way, before the giant snail, I'd like to introduce you about our research interest about plasma. And And he's my boss, Professor Nobuya Hayashi, and we are really interested in plasma application for life science, and such as plasma medicine, and plasma agriculture, and plasma biology. And plasma medicine is about research on plasma induced in activation of cancer cell and activation of immune cells. It is actually opposite side of the phenomena, but plasma can do it. And plasma agriculture is about research on plasma irradiation for the sterilization of agricultural products and germination control, and also the plasma can enhance the plant growth. And the last one is plasma biology. It actually led to the two things. And this is about the research on fundamental plasma biological interactions, including the cellular response against oxidative stress, such as like that. And when we expose the plasma to this kind of target, sometimes the cells, and sometimes microorganisms, and sometimes plant, and sometimes agriculture product. So when they receive the plasma, the physical damage and oxidative stress and gene expression has occurred. And for example, when plasma is applied to the cancer cell, the left side is, this one is normal cell, and this one is oral cancer cell. So as you can see this movie, so the normal cells, there's nothing happen on the normal cell, but in the case of cancer cell, just on this timing. So almost all cancer cells change the shape, like a circle. So it is apoptosis. It means the cancer cell eliminated by a plasma treatment. So we want to use this phenomenon to future cancer treatment. Now I'd like to back to the main part of my presentation. And as I mentioned before, our laboratory strongly focused on the plasma application. However, this research is not related to the plasma anymore. So I apologize, someone who loves plasma. And I want to start from what is the apple snail. Actually, his scientific name is Homacea caneculata, and the common name is apple snail. Sometimes they call golden apple snail, because the snail has a round shell like apple, but the taste is not like an apple, unfortunately. And this is one of the largest freshwater snail. The maximum shell size is 8 centimeters. It's almost same as a baseball. Maybe. So they can move very fast. This is very fast in the snail world. It's very fast, and they move like they have two pair, one pair of the tentacle and a pair of the small cute eyes here. And this eyes is not good, just only 30 pixels. They feel just bright or dark, but only they cannot see my face, I think. And needless to say, they can breathe under the water, but they can take air into the lung with this is siphon. So they have lung on the gill, so surprisingly. Now let's take a look at the eggs of the apple snail. This is also very unique color also. And the snail lays a bright pink egg mass at the night, like this, on the river walls and the plant above the water surface. This is a big figure. And each egg mass contains about 200 to 300 eggs, and the single female can lay eggs from 2,000 to 8,000 eggs a year. That's a lot of eggs, isn't it? And also, this is a picture of baby snails. The size is very tiny. This is only 2 to 3 millimeter, and they have red color like this one. So it's just like an apple. By the way, did you notice this picture? This picture is moving. This is actual speed, actual speed of egg laying. It takes several hours to make an egg mass like this. It's moving. Wow, it's non-stop. And the apple snail was originally native to South America, then widely distributed to mainly in East and Southeast Asia. And around 1979 to 80, the snail was imported to Taiwan from Argentina. Then, 1980s, they were introduced to other Asian countries as a food source. And in 1981, finally they imported to Japan from Taiwan. Then it was cultured over 500 pounds in Japan. So, okay. And in 1984, and after that, the snail became a serious problem for rice cultivation in Japan and also other countries.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Imported means people brought it, or it was accidental?
No, the people grow it to earn money, so that's a problem because of the human. And the apple snail are also present in Singapore, but Singapore doesn't have not so many rice fields here. So they maybe you can see the rivers and the pond near here, I think. And not only Asian countries, recently. That's also the big problem. The apple snail has invaded East Africa. So global spread is still ongoing. That is why the snail has been listed as one of the World 100 Worst Invasive Alien Species. And this slide shows you the rice damage caused by the snail. As you can see it, and sometimes the very terrible damage is occurred by the apple snail. So apple snail is now well known as an important rice pest, not only in Japan, other Asian countries. So what is the reason for the damage? Even few apple snail can cause serious damage. That's only almost almost 3 snails in one square meter. So the damage occurred. And therefore, the snail is still uncontrolled against rice damage. If we use the AI and other specific technology, but we have no way to control apple snail yet. And we think a completely different approach from the present methods should be necessary. That is our challenge. So of course we have a preventive method against the snail, such as eliminate the eggs and shallow water management and agricultural chemical also. But controlling the snail is hard work for farmers. The current methods still have risks of damage. So we have challenged to develop the apple snail control method using engineering approaches. So actually, I did some experiment from engineering approach, such as using electric shock to the apple snail, and using ozone, and that's also electric shock for egg-laying prevention. And the ultrasonic wave of extermination of the snail, the electrical control. And in this method, I think ultrasonic wave and electrical control are good for practical application. So I'm going to explain the details on the next slide of this technology. And I found the special behavior of the snail against electricity, and it is easier to understand to watch the movie. And this is a normal behavior, so they can move freely. And the next is the I applied electricity between the apple snail is between the electrode, so they can move the just one way. Maybe it's better to see once again. This is normal behavior, and this is a controlled behavior. So the snail walk toward low potential direction altogether. And also we found the effect of ultrasonic irradiation for apple snail elimination. The ultrasonic wave is effective to eliminate the snail. So when we apply the only 2 or 3 minutes with 28 kilohertz ultrasonic wave, so the almost 90% of the snail death. So this slide shows you the preliminary experiment in the paddy field. So and I made a voltage control system and installed 3-lot electrode to rice field here. And this experiment shows us the electric control was effective in the paddy field. So this is the electrode, and you can see the snail gather around the electrode. But the problem is that once every few days the battery gone, so we need to replace. So I think we need to create power supply. Therefore, we developed a device with a solar system like this. The voltage source is almost same, but 100-watt solar panels were installed. And also a prototype demonstration in a paddy field is shown in this slide. So you can see the apple snails from it's gathered around the electrode. So as a result of that, it was confirmed this practical method is good for the rice field. And also, we use this technology to agriculture canals because the pesticide usage is banned in the canals. The only large field can use pesticide. And the current pest control operation is hard work because there are no way to control them in the canal, so just pick up with hands. That is very hard work for farmers. And apply this method to the canal. As a result of that, the approximately 150 snails were controlled, collected around the electrode. So this method has a low environmental impact and can therefore be applied not only in the paddy field but also in agriculture canals. Its effect for control game. I think this is the last one. And someday I will be a snail master to solve this problem. And this is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Yagi, for your very effective study on the to control the apple giant snail. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Wait.
Thank you. First of all, very interesting research, amazing. And also I love the Shingeki no Kyojin, Attack on Titan reference. It's native from South America. What is the natural predator of the giant apple snail in South America?
Oh, okay. They're kite. So actually, maybe there's some pictures. A snail kite is in Argentina. Maybe I forgot. This one. Oh, yes. This is a kite, snail kite. It's called snail kite. So usually the fish and the mouse and some small creature can eat snails, but when the snail bigger and bigger, so it's very difficult to catch and eat snail. That's why another country they have no enemy to they are no predator. That's why the number of the snails is increasing. But in South America, they eat a big snail. That's why just a balance.
And furthermore, like since it was imported for food reasons, could Japanese farmers not harvest the snails and then use it as a form of protein or as a form of...
Yeah, that's right. So some part of Japan, they eat apple snail, but how can I say? But not good for that. Not good taste for Japanese because sometimes we eat seashell fish, so we eat them sashimi, but this one is not good for sashimi because they have a worm inside. So that's why. But in China and Vietnam, always eat apple snail. They love it.
In the restaurant set area, they also have the grilled snail. Is that similar as apple snail, or they use another kind of snail?
Not sure. So,
that one is very delicious. I think it's very popular food.
Yeah, this is very popular. It's normal food. You can buy apple snail in the supermarket and also internet.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Just like I'm just curious. Can you use the same method to attack other than apple snail, maybe pineapple snail or something? Other than that, because this topic is very interesting because you can collect and maybe other than paddy fields, maybe sometimes in agricultural, if you wanted to preserve your crops and everything, so maybe they have another other than, this technology, can you use other than apple snail? Is it possible?
So it's not current technology. It is still difficult. That other it's difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just curious because it's very interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. Other questions? No. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Yakyu.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next will be the Dr. Scott Rowan. Dr. Scott Rowan from Kyushu University's Open Innovation Platform. He helps connect university research with industry partners and support startup co-creation. He earned a PhD in aerospace engineering from the University of Queensland and has extensive experience in innovation-focused programs. So the title of his presentation is Overview of the Open Innovation Platform and Startup Co-Creation at Kyushu University. So please welcome Dr. Rowan.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And as Kichi Sensei said, I'd like to talk about Kyushu University Open Innovation Platform, or OIP, as we like to call it. As you just heard, my background is originally in aerospace engineering, and I worked in aerospace R&D and industry for almost 20 years, and then moved to Kyushu about 4 years ago, and started working with OIP about 1 year ago. So OIP is a 100% subsidiary of Kyushu University. Until April 2024, the functions of OIP were actually part of the internal university organisation. And then at that time, the university decided to establish OIP as a separate company, mainly to take advantage of, the corporations law in Japan and the flexibility and, additional freedom that it provided to OIP in terms of providing support to the university staff and students in their efforts to commercialise their research. So OIP's mission is pretty simple. Our main goal is to help the university improve its education and research, and we do that mainly through supporting the industry, academia and government collaboration activities of the university. So we're actually located quite close to the main campus of the university, about 1 kilometre away, and we're in this integrated R&D and retail and commercial facility called Ito Lab Plus. Think of it as a small-scale technology park. So we have some accommodation there for staff and students. We have retail facilities. We have some co-working and commercial spaces for university-based startups. And then we also have the office of OIP itself. Okay, so OIP is made up of three main businesses or teams. The first one of those is called the issue-driven team, and this team's focus is really industry, so the surrounding industry and companies in the Fukuoka and Kyushu areas. So when industry has a problem that they think the university can help them solve, or they'd like to collaborate with the university on developing some sort of new technology, then the issue-driven team is the one that will collaborate with industry and help them find a potential partner within the university and establish that collaboration and potentially in the future create a company together with the university. The second team is called the science-driven team, and that's the one that I'm a part of. And we're focused on supporting the university's staff and students, so the people in the university who are creating the science, basically. And I'll talk a bit more about what we do in a second. And then the last team is called the vision-driven team. And as the name suggests, this team is focused on, I guess, creating the future environment for innovation and a startup ecosystem around the university and the greater area. So what is needed in terms of infrastructure, what is needed in terms of people and resources, what is needed in terms of funding to help the university continue to commercialise its R&D and support the broader economy of the Kyushu region. So this science-driven team has a couple of groups within it. One is called the Startup Co-Creation Group, which helps create startups, obviously. And the other one is called the IP Group, which looks after IP strategy and management for the university's staff and students. And so we sort of mainly work in this first half of this chart here, prior to company launch. So typically a researcher will start off with some research funding, and then when they start to investigate commercialization, then they'll look to establish funding programs, gap funding programs to help them develop a business plan, identify potential markets, and create a company. So some of the things we do to support that are listed here. So obviously, seed discovery, so going out to meet with the university researchers and students and talk to them about what they're doing. Explore the potential to first protect any IP that they're creating, and then secondly to look at the possibilities to commercialise that research in some way, whether it be creating a company directly or licensing that technology to another business. We also provide early proof of concept funding support through some of our funding programs. I'll talk a bit more about that as well in a second. And really, I guess this hands-on support right through from identifying the IP that's to be protected through to establishing a startup based on that research. And I'd like to talk now about a couple of core programs that we have. The first one is called the Parks program, or the Platform for All Regions of Kyushu and Okinawa Startup Ecosystem. Obviously we call it Parks most of the time. So this is actually a program funded by the Ministry of Education in Japan through its Japan Science and Technology Agency. And it's one of 9 programs across Japan. So there are programs like this that cover all regions of Japan, and it's a 5-year program. And in our case, we have 20 universities participating in the program across Kyushu, Okinawa, and Yamaguchi prefectures. Kyushu University is one of the lead universities for this program, and it offers a combination of gap funding and also entrepreneurial education and faculty development programs for all of the universities that are participating in this program. OIP works on the gap funding program side. Through that we're offering things like the funding itself, but also mentoring and incubation and acceleration programs. So this is just an overview of what the funding program looks like for the Parks program. So it's split into 3 steps, and at each step, each year, a number of projects are selected to participate. 40 projects in the case of the step 1 for researchers, and then the 10 projects for students. And this first step is really about, it's really an investigation phase. So, okay, I've got some research, I think it's got some potential, I think there might be a market for it. Let's go and investigate and work out, is that actually the case? And what are the options to commercialise this potential research? Then that step goes for 1 year, and then at the end of that, the researchers can apply for the next step, which is step 2-1. Now, it gets a bit more competitive at this stage. Only 12 projects are selected each year for researchers here. And one of the important concepts or features of this step is that the researcher must partner with a business development organisation of some kind. So that's usually a venture capital firm, but it can also be a company that's potentially interested in the technology, or it can even be an individual. What's important is that that company or individual has, I guess, necessary experience to support the researcher in further developing, particularly their business plan for the research that they have developed. And then finally, they can apply for this last step, step 2-2, and I'll say this is mainly focused around creating the business based on the technology. And each year only 6 cases are selected for this step. Now, overall, it's a 4-year program in total, and the program has been going for its 3rd year now. So we are just selecting the first projects for this step 2-2 at the moment, and they will then proceed towards the end of the program. Another feature of the program is that you can form a startup at any stage of the program. That's completely okay. So some researchers complete step 1 and decide, okay, I'm ready to go, I'm going to form a company. That's completely okay. If you do form a company during the program, obviously the funding, government funding will stop at that stage. It's important to make sure you've got external funding lined up before you make that decision. Okay, and then another program I'd like to talk about is the Innovation Challenge Fund, or ICF. And so this is a fund that Kyushu University has established recently. And it's particularly been set up to address some of the challenges with gap funding programs like the Parks program. So as I just mentioned, sometimes they have time limitations or limitations on the type of projects they can be applied for. For example, the Parks program is a deep tech focused program. So to support researchers with some funding that is a bit more flexible, then we established this Innovation Challenge Fund. And what this program does is provide additional funding to help the researchers particularly complete the proof of concept stage on their commercialization journey. And in general, the fund is based on donations from industry. At the moment, I think there are 5 companies that are contributing to this fund. And then that funding is allocated to researchers, and then when the startup is formed and is hopefully successful, then the university is entitled to receive a potential benefit, financial benefit from the startup success at some point in the future. In terms of the benefits for business, they mainly focus around early access to the research seeds and the ability to, I guess, interface directly with the researchers that are working on some of these projects, and that way they can, I guess, gain the information to make business decisions themselves about which particular projects they may be interested in supporting. So yeah, here are some examples of startups based on Kyushu University's technologies. As you can see, there are quite a few in sort of the life sciences and pharmaceuticals space. In fact, under the Parks program, about half of the projects selected are usually in those sectors. But you can see we also have a number of startups working in the energy environment sector, the space sector, and also next generation display technologies as well. And so I'd just like to finish up by, I guess, highlighting a couple of recent startups that have come through the Parks program. The first one is SuckMods, which is actually an agribio startup based on some research from the Faculty of Agriculture at Kyushu University. So SuckMods is working on technologies to help improve the performance of seeds without genetic modification, and also on nanoparticles that can be added to plants to help them more readily accept fertilizers and other additives to help them grow more effectively. And I guess one of the, as you can see here, we've put a bit of a timeline of the development of SuckMods, and you can see that it was able to leverage a number of Japanese government programs throughout its journey, including the Parks program in 2024. But importantly, this collaboration with Foodbox, another agricultural startup in Japan, was quite pivotal. Because the CEO of SuckMods, Shinya Murakami, was working for this company at the time, and then he was also a former student of the founder and lead researcher for SuckMods. So he actually ended up coming back into the project via the Parks program as a CXO candidate. And then when the company was formed in December last year, became the initial CEO of the company. So it goes to show, I guess, that the power of that long relationship between the research staff and the former students has led to the successful creation of a startup in this case. And then the second one I'd like to mention is this company called Oronox Technologies, which was founded in June last year. And it was founded by Tsubasa Uzawa. It's actually a graduate student at Kyushu University. And it's a space startup based in Fukuoka that's developing a constellation of ultra low Earth orbit satellites using a new propulsion technology that's been developed by Kyushu University. And in this case, what's interesting is that Tsubasa was able to leverage a number of the programs provided by Kyushu University to support student-based innovation and startups. So after enrolling in his PhD, he participated in a challenge and creation program with the university's entrepreneurship centre, QREC, and then following that program, he successfully applied for the Parks Step 1 program for students in 2024, and then in fact, just before completing that program, he decided to create his startup. So in July last year, he created his startup and is currently also in the pre-seed funding stage. This is just two examples of, I guess, the different pathways that are available to the university staff and students to create startups. I think the most important thing is just that to take advantage of the early networking opportunities that present themselves, and then that leads to the opportunity like this down the track at some point. So that's all. So thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Roman, for your informative presentation. Is anyone would like to ask him about OPI?
Hi, thank you for explaining this program. Do you have any exchange programs where students from universities in Singapore or partner universities that already partner with Kyushu can come intern or experience a startup environment or specific startup that they're interested in?
Not at the moment specifically. Of course, you can participate in the university's general exchange programs, and while you are a student on exchange, you then participate in these programs. But we don't at the moment have any specific programs where you come for a few weeks and just do an innovation-focused curriculum or something like that. We do have the opposite. So at the moment, through the Entrepreneurship Centre, they offer programs overseas for Kyushu University students in Singapore, Taiwan, and the US, to name a few examples. But at the moment, we haven't got it operating the other way just yet.
I'm Richard here. I'm here. Richard Goossens, I'm visiting a National University of Singapore.
Yes.
And so thank you for your interesting presentation. And I was curious about the filtering process. So you have 40 ideas, yes, and you invested in it, but then you decide to go to 12. So how do you do it? Is it an external jury? Is it entrepreneurs? So how's the filtering going?
Yes, good question. So there are external panels that assess the applications, and so they are divided up by the research area of interest, and then so usually there are about 3 or 4 panel members each time. The majority are usually VC backgrounds, and then there will be one person with an academic background or something like that. So there is a strong focus on the business elements of the application, and personally, in my opinion, I think that's probably what makes the difference sometimes, how strong that business case is that is presented in the application. Because they don't usually have that technical background, it probably doesn't get the attention it deserves sometimes. They tend to focus more on the numbers side of it and the potential market and customers. Yeah.
Thanks. Can I do a follow-up? And then my neighbor is. Do you also look at the team? So who is doing it?
That is part of the criteria, yes, and I would say that's probably the most challenging aspect, of creating a startup as well. And I think, particularly for people with a university background, obviously they work in a university because they love doing research, and starting and building a company is a completely different skill set for most people. Some people love it, like Tsubasa, the student. And I think you just know, you sort of know when you meet people like that, right? They've just got that certain something about them. They're a go-getter. They're not willing to take no for an answer. They just keep going until they get where they want to go. And so he's a bit like that, and I've got no doubt that he will succeed because of that. It may not be with this company, it may be with another company, but he will get there, at some point. So if the researcher or the student isn't that way inclined, then it's a matter of you need to find the right team members to pair them up with to help them do that. So the team is very important. I'd say it's even more difficult building the team than getting selected for the funding in the first place.
Yeah. Thanks for your answer.
I saw the funding round for the fund, and it said the target was 2.5. And as someone who is in the sustainable finance space and the blended finance space, I wondered what were the barriers, or is it still like open, or what were the challenges to mobilize companies to contribute to the fund?
It is still open, and I would say the university is not in a rush though to fill the funding round. So they're taking quite a measured approach to the establishment of this fund. So at the moment, they obviously have identified those 5 initial companies, and they have contributed a substantial amount of the funding already. So the focus is on making sure that those companies are satisfied with the return on their investment to the fund at the moment, and then once that is, I guess, confirmed and established, then I think the university will look to expand the fund.
And as a follow-up, so some other universities in Japan chose to issue, for example, bonds, like Tsukuba Osaka University, to access a larger pool of a broader set of investors. What made you choose the fund model versus the bond model?
That question is probably above my pay grade. But I think, in general, the Kyushu University is looking to implement a model that works for Kyushu University in the Kyushu region, which is not always the same model that might work in Tokyo or Osaka or Tohoku, for example. So I think the university is making measured decisions around that.
Thank you.
Any other? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for all the speakers today for the excellent presentations. Now we are coming to the end of this symposium. For our closing session, I would like to invite Mr. Shin Ueda, the representative of Kyushu University alumni in Singapore called Shokun Kai, to deliver the closing remarks. Mr. Ueda, please.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm a winner and I'm a representative of Kyushu University Alumni Association in Singapore, Shokun Kai. So thank you for gathering here at KYUDAI now today. So this is the second time we are holding this forum in Singapore. So most of you who may be joining this forum for the first time. So as I approach the closing remarks, I'd like to briefly introduce myself and our alumni association, Shokun Kai, first. So I graduated from the Faculty of Letters, majoring English Literature in 2006. So this year is just 20 years from my graduation. So time passed so fast. Yeah. So thank you. So I'm working at the Japanese oil trading company in Singapore. In 2024, I came to Singapore, and actually this is the second time working in Singapore in 10 years. So the life in Singapore is wonderful, and people are so kind. So yeah, I feel that Singapore is like my hometown. So I love Singapore. Okay, so next, I would like to introduce our alumni association, Shokun Kai. So Shokunkai has been operated for over 10 years from the voluntary or unofficial phase. So thanks to everyone's effort, we established the official alumni association in Singapore. So we have the membership of around 40 people, and we regularly hold dinners, play golf, and deepen our friendships. And now we are continuing to expand the scope of our activities, not only just social gathering, what we call nomikai in Japanese, but also more official and the formal formal activities such as today's forum. So next, I'd like to talk about today's forum, KYUDAI Now. So as I said, following last year, this is the second time we're holding this forum. So yeah, I believe this is a valuable opportunity to learn about research in a wide range of fields. And I hope this event will lead to further expansion of research and collaboration. And I also hope this collaboration will spread globally from Singapore and Japan, especially Kyushu. Okay, so lastly, once again, I'd like to thank everyone who attended today and who cooperated. So as Alumni Association, we will continue to engage in various activities to serve as a bridge between Singapore and Japan, as well as between industry, government, and academia. So it is said that things come in threes. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at third KYUDAI Now in Singapore next time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ueda. So now we have a small gift from Kyushu University to Mr. Ueda.